Everything changes quietly. Not when your income grows, when people finally admire you, or when life suddenly becomes easier. It changes the moment your mind begins to see reality differently. Most people spend their lives trying to change the world around them. They chase better jobs, healthier relationships, more money, more confidence, and more recognition. They believe that once their circumstances improve, peace will naturally follow, but it never does. Every achievement creates another desire. Every success brings a new fear of losing it, so they keep running, believing happiness is just one more step away. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosophers discovered a truth that many people still ignore. The quality of your life depends less on what happens to you than on how you interpret what happens. The world has not become more chaotic. Life has not suddenly become unfair. What has changed is the way people see it. That is why anxiety exists even in comfort, why successful people remain restless, and why someone can have almost everything yet still feel empty. The Stoics understood that lasting transformation never begins by changing your circumstances. It begins by replacing false beliefs with timeless truths, not motivational slogans, not temporary optimism, but principles that remain true whether you succeed or fail, whether people praise you or reject you. Once these truths shape your thinking, everything else begins to change. Your reactions become calmer, your decisions become wiser, your life becomes steadier. Today, you will discover 7 Stoic truths that have transformed lives for centuries. Learn them, practice them, and you may realize that the change you have been searching for was never outside you. It has been waiting inside your own mind all along. These ideas are not new. Long before modern psychology explained cognitive bias, emotional regulation, and resilience, the Stoics were already teaching people how to master the only thing they truly owned, their own mind. Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire of his time while facing war, betrayal, plague, and constant uncertainty. Yet his private journal was never filled with complaints about fate. Instead, it became a record of daily reminders to govern his own thoughts before attempting to govern the world. Epictetus lived as a slave for part of his life. He possessed neither wealth nor status, yet he taught that freedom begins when you stop allowing external events to control your inner peace. Seneca became one of Rome's wealthiest men, only to lose nearly everything before being ordered to take his own life. Even then, his writings continued to emphasize that character is more valuable than fortune because fortune can disappear overnight. These men lived different lives, but they reached the same conclusion. Most human suffering does not come from reality itself. It comes from misunderstanding reality. That is why Stoicism has survived for more than 2,000 years while countless philosophies have faded away. It does not promise perfect circumstances. It teaches you how to remain steady inside imperfect circumstances. Its principles have guided emperors, soldiers, scholars, entrepreneurs, athletes, and ordinary people through every kind of success and hardship. Because human nature has never truly changed. Technology changes, society changes, opportunities change, but fear, anger, envy, attachment, disappointment, and uncertainty remain remarkably familiar. The 7 truths you are about to learn have endured because they speak directly to those timeless struggles. They are not theories to admire. They are practical principles to live. And when practiced consistently, they begin changing your perspective long before they change your circumstances. That is where every lasting transformation begins. Imagine waking up tomorrow with the same job, the same responsibilities, and the same people around you. Nothing outside has changed, yet your mind feels lighter. Criticism no longer controls your emotions. Delays no longer steal your peace. Uncertainty no longer fills you with fear. You stop wasting energy on what you cannot control and begin investing it where it truly matters. That is the quiet power of Stoicism. It does not remove life's difficulties. It changes the person who faces them. The 7 truths in this video are not meant to inspire you for a single afternoon. They are meant to become principles you return to whenever life tests your patience, your confidence, or your character. The more deeply you understand them, the more naturally they begin shaping your decisions, your habits, and your relationships. Over time, people may notice that you seem calmer, more disciplined, more difficult to provoke. But the greatest change will not be what others see. It will be the peace you finally feel within yourself. If you enjoy exploring timeless Stoic wisdom and want more practical lessons like these, subscribe and join us for future videos. Now, let us begin with the first truth, because everything changes the moment you realize that the greatest source of your frustration has never been the world itself. It has been the illusion that you were supposed to control it. Truth 1. You control far less than you think. Most people spend their lives fighting battles they can never win. They try to control how other people see them. They replay conversations, hoping to erase awkward moments. They worry about tomorrow as if enough anxiety could somehow change what has not yet happened. They become frustrated when traffic slows them down, when co-workers disappoint them, when family members refuse to listen, or when life refuses to follow the plan they carefully created. After years of doing this, they feel exhausted, not because life is unusually difficult, but because they have been carrying a burden that was never theirs to carry. Imagine standing in the middle of the ocean, trying to stop the waves with your bare hands. No matter how determined you are, the sea does not obey your wishes. The harder you fight it, the more exhausted you become. Many people live exactly this way. Every day they struggle against reality itself. The Stoics believed this is where unnecessary suffering begins. Epictetus taught that some things are within our control, while others are not. Our judgments, choices, values, and actions belong to us. The opinions of others, the past, the future, the economy, the weather, and countless events outside ourselves do not. The tragedy is that most people reverse these priorities. They neglect their own character while obsessing over circumstances they cannot command. Consider a familiar situation. You spend days preparing for an important presentation at work. You study carefully, rehearse every sentence, and arrive fully prepared. Yet during the meeting, someone criticizes your idea. Another person seems uninterested. By the end of the day, you cannot stop thinking about their reactions. Your work was under your control. Their opinions never were. But instead of feeling proud that you gave your best effort, you allow someone else's judgment to decide how you feel about yourself. Without realizing it, you have handed over the steering wheel of your emotional life. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the largest empires in history, yet even he constantly reminded himself that he could not control everything happening around him. Wars, disease, betrayal, and political conflict surrounded him almost every day. Instead of demanding that the world become easier, he trained himself to become steadier. That was his true victory. Picture an archer drawing a bow. The archer can choose the finest arrow, aim with complete attention, and release it with perfect technique. But once the arrow leaves the string, the wind takes over. A sudden gust may change its path. The Stoics believed life works the same way. Your responsibility ends with your effort. The outcome belongs to life. This truth changes everything. When you stop measuring yourself by results you cannot fully control, your mind becomes lighter. You stop chasing impossible certainty. You stop blaming yourself for every unexpected turn. Instead, your energy returns to the only place where it has real power: your own choices. Beginning today, pause whenever anxiety appears. Ask yourself one simple question: is this truly within my control? If the answer is yes, take action. If the answer is no, practice letting it go. It will not happen overnight. But every time you make this distinction, you reclaim another piece of your inner freedom. And once you discover that control is far smaller than you imagined, you become ready for an even deeper realization. Because often, the greatest source of suffering is not what happens to you. It is the meaning you choose to give it. Truth 2. Most suffering comes from your interpretation. Two people can experience the exact same event and walk away with completely different lives. One loses a job and believes his future is over. Another loses the same job and sees an opportunity to begin again. One hears criticism and feels personally attacked. Another hears the same words and asks whether there is something useful to learn. The event is identical, the experience is not. The difference lies in interpretation. Most people assume that life happens to them. The Stoics believed something far more profound. They believed that between every event and every emotion stands the human mind. It is there that suffering is either created or dissolved. Imagine looking through a pair of tinted glasses. If the lenses are dark, the entire world appears darker. Not because the world has changed, but because your way of seeing it has. Many of us wear invisible lenses built from fear, insecurity, pride, or old disappointments. Without realizing it, we mistake those lenses for reality. That is why small problems often become enormous burdens. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A mistake becomes failure. A disagreement becomes proof that nobody understands us. Our interpretation quietly transforms ordinary moments into emotional storms. Think about social media. You upload something that matters to you. After a few hours, it receives far less attention than you expected. Immediately, your mind begins telling stories. People don't care. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. Yet none of those conclusions came from reality. They came from interpretation. The facts were simple. Your mind added everything else. Epictetus expressed this idea with remarkable clarity when he said that people are disturbed not by things themselves, but by the views they take of them. That insight remains just as powerful today as it was nearly 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius practiced this discipline constantly. Whenever something unpleasant happened, he reminded himself to separate the event from the judgment attached to it. A difficult situation did not automatically become a disaster. It only became one if he allowed his own thoughts to turn it into one. This is where true emotional strength begins, not by controlling every circumstance, but by examining the stories your mind creates. The next time something upsets you, resist the urge to react immediately. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what actually happened? Then ask a second question. What story am I adding to it? Those two answers are often very different. The first describes reality. The second reveals your interpretation. Once you can see the difference, you regain the freedom to choose a wiser response. That does not mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is positive. It means refusing to let your first emotional reaction become your permanent truth. Over time, this practice creates remarkable peace. You become less reactive, less defensive, less controlled by passing emotions. Instead of believing every thought that enters your mind, you begin observing it with calm curiosity. And that simple shift changes how you experience nearly every part of life. Because when your interpretations become wiser, your world becomes lighter, even if your circumstances remain exactly the same. And once you realize that the mind shapes experience far more than events themselves, you are ready for the third truth. For even the things we treasure most are never meant to last forever. Truth 3. Nothing lasts forever. One of the deepest causes of human suffering is not that life changes. It is that we expect it not to. We want success to stay forever. We want our loved ones to remain exactly as they are today. We want our youth, our health, our routines, and our sense of certainty to remain untouched by time. But life has never made that promise. Everything you see around you is already changing. The people you love are growing older. The opportunities before you are constantly shifting. Even the person you were 5 years ago no longer exists. Yet despite seeing this truth everywhere, we still cling to the illusion that what we have today will somehow remain forever. That attachment quietly becomes the source of our pain. Imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze it, the faster it slips through your fingers. But when your hand remains open, the sand rests there peacefully for a while. Life works the same way. The harder we try to possess every moment, every relationship, and every achievement, the more fear we create. We stop enjoying the present because we become obsessed with preventing its end. Think about a parent watching a child grow. One day the child needs help tying their shoes. Then suddenly they are walking to school alone. Before long, they leave home to build a life of their own. Every stage feels temporary because it is. The parent who accepts this reality treasures each season. The parent who resists it spends those same years grieving what has not even disappeared yet. Acceptance allows gratitude. Resistance creates sorrow. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this truth almost every day. As emperor, he witnessed victories, celebrations, political alliances, and moments of prosperity. He also watched trusted friends die, cities suffer from plague, and fortunes change with astonishing speed. Instead of demanding permanence, he reminded himself that change is nature itself. To resist change was to resist life. When good times arrived, he appreciated them without becoming attached. When difficult times appeared, he endured them without believing they would last forever. That is one of Stoicism's greatest gifts. It teaches you to enjoy life deeply without trying to imprison it. The next time something wonderful happens, pause for a moment. Instead of thinking, "I hope this never ends," quietly tell yourself, "This is precious because it cannot last forever." Notice what happens. Instead of fear, gratitude begins to grow. Instead of taking people for granted, you become more present. Instead of postponing meaningful conversations, you have them now. The awareness of impermanence does not make life darker. It makes life brighter, because every ordinary moment becomes something worth protecting with your full attention. If this truth reminds you to appreciate today a little more, comment, "I choose gratitude." It may be a small sentence, but repeating it to yourself can quietly change how you live tomorrow. Once you truly accept that nothing lasts forever, another invisible chain begins to loosen. You stop chasing something just as temporary as everything else, the approval of other people. Truth 4. Seeking approval is a form of slavery. There is an invisible prison that millions of people enter without ever realizing it. It has no walls, no locked doors, no chains around the wrists. Yet it quietly controls their decisions every single day. It is the need to be approved by other people. Many lives are shaped not by personal conviction, but by imagined expectations. People choose careers they never wanted because their families expect it. They stay silent because they fear disagreement. They buy things they cannot afford simply to impress people they barely know. They hide their true personalities because they worry someone might not like them. Little by little, they stop asking, "What do I believe?" and start asking, "What will everyone else think?" Without noticing, they surrender ownership of their own lives. Imagine a puppet hanging from dozens of strings. Every string is held by someone different. One person pulls with praise, another pulls with criticism, a third pulls with disappointment. The puppet never chooses its own direction because every movement depends on someone else's hand. That is exactly what happens when approval becomes your source of identity. Your emotions no longer belong to you. They belong to whoever is watching. Modern life makes this trap even stronger. A photograph receives hundreds of likes, and your confidence rises. The next post performs poorly, and suddenly you question your worth. One compliment lifts your mood. One negative comment ruins your entire day. Nothing about your character has changed, only the opinions around you. Yet those opinions begin controlling your peace. The Stoics warned against this long before social media existed. Epictetus reminded his students that if you depend on external praise for happiness, you place your freedom in someone else's hands. The moment another person's approval becomes necessary for your peace, you have already given away something priceless. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. As emperor, he was admired by many and criticized by many others. He knew that trying to satisfy everyone was impossible. Instead of chasing popularity, he asked himself a far more important question each day. Have I acted with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control? That was the only judgment he believed truly mattered. Picture a mighty oak tree growing alone on a hill. The wind blows from every direction. Some days the storm is gentle, other days it is violent. The tree does not change its roots to satisfy the wind. It remains grounded in what supports its life. Character works the same way. When your values become your roots, praise cannot inflate you, and criticism cannot easily destroy you. This does not mean ignoring every opinion. Wise feedback helps us grow. Constructive criticism can reveal blind spots. The difference is that you evaluate those opinions instead of automatically obeying them. You stop asking whether everyone approves. You begin asking whether something is true. That single habit transforms confidence. Starting today, notice how often you change yourself simply to avoid disapproval. Pause before speaking. Pause before apologizing unnecessarily. Pause before seeking reassurance. Ask yourself, am I acting from conviction or from fear of rejection? The more often your answer comes from conviction, the more freedom you gain. Because real confidence is not built when everyone applauds you. It is built when you remain faithful to your principles, even when the room falls silent. And once you no longer depend on the approval of others, you are finally ready to discover something even more powerful, that every obstacle you once feared may become your greatest teacher. Truth 5. Every obstacle can become your teacher. Every person hopes for an easy life, a smooth career, healthy relationships, predictable days, a future without setbacks. But if such a life were possible, it would also leave you untested. And an untested person rarely discovers what they are truly capable of becoming. The moments that shape us are almost never the moments we would have chosen. They arrive disguised as disappointment, failure, loss, embarrassment, rejection. At first, every obstacle feels like proof that life is moving against us. Only much later do we realize that some of those painful moments became the turning points that changed everything. Imagine a river flowing toward the sea. When it meets a massive rock, it does not stop forever. It does not waste energy arguing with the obstacle. Instead, it slowly finds another path. Day after day, the water continues moving until even the hardest stone begins to wear away. Its strength does not come from force. It comes from persistence. The Stoics believed we should respond to life's difficulties in the same way, not by wishing they disappeared, but by asking how we can continue moving forward through them. Think about someone who loses a job unexpectedly. The first reaction is usually fear. Bills need to be paid. Confidence disappears. The future suddenly feels uncertain. Many people conclude that life has become unfair. But months later, some discover a career that suits them far better than the one they lost. Others finally start the business they had postponed for years. The obstacle did not guarantee success. It revealed possibilities they would never have explored otherwise. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He understood that every difficulty carries two stories. The first story says, "This is happening to me." The second says, "This is happening for my growth." The event remains exactly the same. Only the perspective changes. History gives us a remarkable example through Epictetus. He spent much of his early life as a slave. His body was controlled by someone else. His freedom was limited. His future seemed impossible to shape. Yet instead of allowing hardship to poison his mind, he treated every painful experience as training. His difficult circumstances became the classroom where he developed extraordinary wisdom. The obstacle became the teacher. Centuries later, millions of people still study his philosophy, not because his life was comfortable, but because he transformed suffering into strength. The same opportunity exists for you. The next time life places an obstacle in your path, resist the temptation to ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Replace it with a better question. What is this trying to teach me? Perhaps it is teaching patience, perhaps discipline, perhaps courage, perhaps humility, or perhaps it is revealing a weakness you never noticed while life was easy. Every challenge contains a lesson. Not everyone chooses to receive it. People who avoid every difficulty often remain exactly the same for years. People who face hardship with curiosity continue evolving. Eventually, they stop fearing obstacles altogether, because they know that every challenge carries the possibility of becoming wiser, calmer, and stronger than before. And once you learn to welcome life's hardest lessons instead of running from them, you become ready for the sixth truth. The one possession that every obstacle can strengthen but no obstacle can ever take away. Your character. Truth 6. Your character is your greatest possession. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that everything you own has disappeared. Your bank account is empty. Your job is gone. Your reputation has been damaged by rumors you cannot control. The life you spent years building seems to have fallen apart overnight. It is a frightening thought. Yet one question matters even more than what you have lost. Who are you after the loss? Most people build their identity on things that can easily be taken away. Their confidence depends on success. Their happiness depends on recognition. Their self-worth depends on how well life is going. As long as those things remain, they feel secure. But the moment life changes, so does their sense of self. The Stoics believed this was one of the greatest mistakes a person could make, because anything that depends on fortune disappears with fortune. Character is different. It belongs to you alone. No thief can steal it. No economic crisis can erase it. No stranger's opinion can weaken it unless you willingly abandon it yourself. Imagine building two houses. One stands on soft sand. The other is built deep into solid bedrock. When the storm arrives, both houses face the same wind and rain, but only one remains standing. Character is that bedrock. Everything else is decoration. Without that foundation, even success becomes fragile. With it, even failure cannot destroy you. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than almost anyone. Although he ruled an empire, he constantly reminded himself that titles, wealth, and power were temporary. Every morning he focused on something much more important. Could he remain honest? Could he remain patient? Could he remain just? Those questions mattered more than victory because they were completely within his control. History remembers him not simply because he was an emperor. Many emperors have been forgotten. He is remembered because his character survived the enormous pressures of power. The same lesson appears in the life of Seneca. He experienced extraordinary wealth and influence. Later he experienced political disgrace and eventually received the order to end his own life. His circumstances changed dramatically. His commitment to philosophy did not. His writings survived because character speaks louder than comfort. Think about the people you admire most. You probably remember them less for what they owned than for how they lived. Their honesty, their courage, their kindness under pressure, their ability to remain calm when everyone else panicked. Those qualities leave a deeper impression than success ever can. Starting today, spend less energy protecting your image. Spend more energy strengthening your principles. Keep your promises. Tell the truth. Choose discipline over comfort. Every small decision quietly shapes the person you are becoming. When everything else changes, character remains. If this is the principle you want to live by, comment character first. Sometimes one simple promise is enough to remind you who you are becoming. And once you understand that your greatest treasure exists within you, only one final truth remains. The one resource none of us can ever replace. Time. Truth 7. Death gives meaning to life. There is one truth that every human being knows, yet almost everyone spends their life trying to forget it. One day, your story will end. Not someday in theory. Not only for other people, for you. No matter how successful you become, how much money you earn, or how carefully you plan your future, your time is limited. At first, this sounds uncomfortable, even frightening. But the Stoics believed it is one of the most liberating realizations a person can ever have, because when you remember that life is finite, you stop wasting it. Imagine receiving a glass filled with rare, expensive wine. You would probably drink it slowly. You would appreciate every sip because you know there is only so much inside the glass. Now imagine someone secretly refilling it forever. Eventually, you would stop paying attention. You might even forget its value. Time works the same way. We take ordinary days for granted because we quietly assume there will always be another one. Tomorrow, next month, next year, one day. Those two words have stolen countless dreams. People postpone conversations that need to happen. They delay forgiving someone they love. They keep waiting to begin the work that truly matters. They tell themselves they will become healthier, calmer, kinder, or braver when life finally becomes less busy. But life rarely becomes less busy, and one day quietly becomes never. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Every morning he reminded himself that he could leave life at any moment. He did not practice this thought to become fearful. He practiced it to become fully awake. Remembering death helped him make wiser decisions while he was alive. It reminded him not to waste energy on petty arguments, not to become consumed by pride, not to postpone acts of kindness. His awareness of death made him more present with life. Imagine standing at the edge of a breathtaking sunset. You know it will disappear in only a few minutes. Because of that, you stop looking at your phone. You stop thinking about tomorrow. You simply watch. Its temporary nature is exactly what makes it beautiful. Life itself is no different. Its value comes not from lasting forever, but from existing only once. This realization changes your priorities. You become slower to hold grudges, quicker to express gratitude, less interested in proving yourself, more interested in becoming yourself. You begin choosing meaningful work over empty status, deep relationships over shallow approval, presence over distraction, character over appearance. The fear of death slowly transforms into respect for time. Every morning becomes a gift instead of a guarantee. Every ordinary conversation becomes something that may never happen again. Every opportunity becomes more precious because it is temporary. That is why the Stoics did not see death as the enemy of life. They saw it as life's greatest teacher. Death quietly reminds us that today matters. This hour matters. This decision matters. These 7 truths are not separate lessons. Together, they form a new way of living. Control what belongs to you. Question your interpretations. Accept change. Release the need for approval. Learn from every obstacle. Protect your character. And never forget that your time is finite. Live this way consistently, and something extraordinary begins to happen. The world around you may not become easier, but you become someone who no longer needs it to be. Everything changes when your way of seeing life changes. That is the quiet promise hidden within Stoicism. It does not promise a life without pain. It does not promise endless success. It does not promise that people will always understand you, appreciate you, or treat you fairly. Instead, it offers something far more valuable. It teaches you how to remain steady when life refuses to be. The 7 truths you have explored are not meant to inspire you for a single afternoon. They are meant to guide the thousands of ordinary decisions that quietly shape your future. Every time you focus on what you can control, you reclaim your peace. Every time you question your first interpretation instead of blindly believing it, you reclaim your clarity. Every time you accept change instead of resisting it, you reclaim your gratitude. Every time you stop chasing approval, learn from hardship, strengthen your character, and remember that your time is limited, you become a little freer than you were yesterday. That is how transformation happens. Not through one dramatic breakthrough, but through hundreds of small choices repeated with patience. One day, you will notice that the situations around you have not changed very much. People are still unpredictable, life is still uncertain, problems still appear, but something inside you is completely different. You no longer panic so easily. You no longer depend on circumstances to feel at peace. You no longer need the world to become perfect before you can live well. That is real power. Not power over other people, power over yourself. If these 7 Stoic truths gave you a new perspective, subscribe and join us for more timeless wisdom that helps you build calm, strength, and inner freedom in everyday life. And before you leave, tell us in the comments, which of these 7 truths challenged the way you think the most, and which one will you begin practicing today? Thank you for spending this time with us. Until our next journey together, remember, the strongest life is not built by controlling the world. It is built by mastering the person who meets it every day.